At the beginning of the book of 1 Samuel in the Old Testament, there is a line. It says, "The word of the Lord was rare in those days." I've always appreciated this line because it seems so true. It sounds like the most dismal annual report from a church. The word of the Lord was rare in those days. But it's true. There are days or months, years, decades even, when the word of the Lord is rare. And maybe when the word of the Lord is rare, you keep going to church. Maybe you don't. Maybe your life is pretty good, maybe it's not. But the word of the Lord can seem rare, where you're never hearing anything surprising or delightful. When the world that is just so familiar and predictable and depressing is all you can think about or hear about. I was in Chipotle a few weeks ago, or about to walk into a Chipotle, and I noticed on the door entering the restaurant, there was a sign. It said, "Due to a shortage in staffing, we're only accepting online orders." So I thought, well, I can walk in. They'll help me out anyway. So I opened up the door and walked in, and it was filled with people. But every person was buried in their phone, completing an online order, I think. And it didn't seem short-staffed. All the workers were busily filling big tortillas with ingredients and wrapping them tight and then putting them in tinfoil. But everybody was just going about their business and no one was talking. I wondered if talking was allowed. And it made me feel kind of sad because even after completing this online order and having no human contact whatsoever, you'd still be getting actual food that you would have to chew with your actual mouth and digest with your actual belly. It made me wish that we could just have microchips implanted in our brains that could disperse nutrients. It seems as if these days a word between people is rare. And maybe the word of the Lord is also rare in these days. It sure seems like the word of the Lord was rare in the days between Noah and Abraham. There were all those names of people that I did not know, and maybe you didn't know them either. Everybody knows about Noah. We know that story about the ark and Noah's faithfulness, but we don't know about Arpachshad or Shelah or Eber or Peleg or Reu. Does anybody know about these people? They're just a bunch of no-names. They don't really matter. What did they know? Just a bunch of no-names. Is that the worst thing to be? A no-name? It might be these days. It seems like being famous is the prerequisite for importance in the year 2022. If you're famous, well, you can do a lot. And I wonder if we were to ask young people what they want to be when they grow up. Do you want to be wise, faithful, loyal, funny? Or do you want to be famous? I think they would maybe say famous. When people are looking on their phones, I don't think they're researching how to be wise or faithful or loyal or hardworking. I think they're looking at TikTok or Instagram and hoping for more and more and more views, more fame. Shoot, I don't even have a TikTok or Instagram, but I do have the church's YouTube account on which I post my sermons every week. And do any of you know how many listens these sermons are getting every week? There's about 5 or 6 listens a week. And does anybody know how many of those listens belong to the pastor who is reviewing his work? About 3 or 4 of those listens are mine. So I want to thank whomever this congregation has anonymously appointed as the one person to listen to my sermons online every week. I appreciate it. So the only famous person in this long line of people today was Abraham. Now, what's he famous for anyway? What did he do? The big action in our reading today is from verse 4. Here's what verse 4 says. So Abraham went as the Lord told him. That's it. God tells Abraham, go from your country and your kindred and your father's home to the place that I will show you. And Abraham does it, and he goes, even though he doesn't know where he's going. This will be more entertaining than a sermon, so I'm going to help Brenda. So God tells Abraham to go, and Abraham just goes. We don't really know what he does. There are no specifics. This does not sound like material that could produce a news story or something that could be captured in a video and posted online to get everybody's attention. We don't really know what Abraham does. There's not much for details. And maybe that makes this stand out all the more. Because anybody can move forward with a plan when they have a lot of information, when they know what's going to happen. It's not real hard to remain a part of a community or organization or church when you know what the future is going to be like, when you have a clear mission, when you know you're going to grow. Anybody can go forward with a plan like that. But it's a hard thing to remain optimistic or to continue going forward when you don't have a plan and you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know what your future is going to be. And maybe that is what stands out about Abraham. Abraham moves forward, but he doesn't know what's going to happen. And he doubts. That's natural. We doubt. Abraham will take one step forward, and then he will express his doubt to God, and God will respond. And Abraham will take another step forward and doubt some more, and God will respond. And this recurs again and again and again. And this is the father of our faith. Someone who managed faithfulness alongside of their doubt. This is why Abraham is a model for us. Not that we might be perfectly faithful, but that we might have real doubts and yet still move our feet forward, one step at a time, to be reassured, and then to step forward again and again and again. And then Abraham becomes famous because of it. He's the one person, other than Noah, that we know from this long line of characters. God tells Abraham this morning, I will make of you a great nation, I will bless you, and I will make your name great. And maybe this is the thing that could get people to look up from their phones. If they heard this, that God could make your name great. God could make you famous. Maybe this could get people's attention. But it's not what this story is about. It's not the point of Abraham, his fame. God does tell Abraham, I will make of you a great nation, I will bless you, and I will make your name great so that you will be a blessing. And so that all the families of the earth will be blessed through your name. So it's not really a story about Abraham. It's a story about all the people of the earth, all the no-names who came before Abraham, all the no-names who have followed Abraham. God is using a specific individual, Abraham, to demonstrate love for the whole world. And of course, this is a prelude to the gift of Jesus Christ. Because in Jesus Christ, God becomes a human being, and the human being is elevated to the godly. A seminary professor of mine called this a sweet swap. God becomes human, the human becomes God. This is the wonder of the incarnation, the wonder of God's blessing the whole world through particular people. So you are all descendants of Abraham, and the Spirit of Christ is upon all of you. But none of us are really famous, I don't think. Once upon a time, Keith Stacey met Dwight Eisenhower, I think. I think the story's true. Keith told me anyway. Once upon a time, Ross Rogney was Mr. Minnesota. Gary, you've presided over some important cases with some famous football players. Holly, you once had dinner with Bill Nye, the science guy. The Hot Vets live next to the Cambria people. Mickey has maybe 70 views on that YouTube video. I'm jealous of that. That sounds kind of famous to me, but really this is small stuff. I don't think any of us are that famous. Even our little church. When I meet people and they ask me where I am the pastor, I tell them the Congregational Church of Excelsior. They don't know where it is. And then I say, it's right next to Excelsior Brewing. They know where that is. So none of us are that famous. Our church isn't that famous. We're just a couple people with a few dogs in a parking lot, kind of cold on a September afternoon. That's all we are, maybe. But the story of God's love for the world, the story of God's love for you, is that we have all been named and called and claimed, and that this is far more significant or lasting than any obituary could reflect. It's far more significant or lasting than 1,000 YouTube views. It's far more significant and lasting than any level of fame. A few weeks ago, I got a text from my neighbor. She said that her husband, I think, was on a Facebook page for the city of Hopkins, and that a resident of Hopkins had uploaded a video where they had seen a little boy in Hopkins riding on his bike, following the garbage man around and helping the garbage man wheel the garbage bins to the back of the truck. And the person uploaded this video and said, "This kid just made my day. How nice." And I looked at the video, and it was Fred. And I thought, well, good for Fred. That's awfully nice of you. But I don't know if I'm going to show you this video, Fred. Because I thought, we don't help out people so that we are noticed on Facebook. We help out people to help out people. The great writer Toni Morrison grew up in Lorain, Ohio. Her dad worked and worked and worked and worked. He was as smart as could be, but the family was still very poor. But Morrison said that when she was growing up, her parents instilled in them a sense of pride and honor, that the whole family felt as if they may as well have been aristocrats. One day, Morrison's dad came home from a long day of work, and he said, "Honey, today I welded a perfect seam, and then I signed my name on it, and it was buried behind a wall." And Morrison said, "Daddy, why would you sign your name on something that no one will ever see?" There are some things that are more significant than the recognition of other people. Some things that are deeper, more lasting. All of you have been recognized by God. All of you have been claimed by God. Just like our Paxid and Peleg and Selah and Rue and whomever else was there that we do not remember. All of you have been recognized and claimed and loved by God, even if nobody else knows it except you. Amen.